Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. It's the Bachelor Supreme here, the Ancient One, back with another video. And today I would like to talk about why MGTOW failed. If you think back a few years ago, there was a very popular online movement, one which I thought had a lot of potential to do a lot of good, but ultimately this movement sort of fizzled out and died out, and I think there were some very good reasons for that. So today I'd like to talk about why did MGTOW fail? And what was MGTOW? So my simple answer is that MGTOW failed because of hubris and contradiction, right? And hubris is defined as excessive pride and self-confidence. And of course, we know that a contradiction is always a lie. So what was MGTOW? MGTOW is an abbreviation, MGTOW, which meant men going their own way. And in truth, we know that they didn't go anywhere, right? MGTOW didn't go anywhere. Instead, it just fizzled out and died for many good reasons. So where did this movement start? Before MGTOW became this super digital online movement, there was a group of men who were divorced, right? These were divorced men who had gotten remarried, so they were paying alimony to their ex-wife based on their previous salary and previous household income. So what happened was that these men would, move on with their lives. They met another person, they got married, and in one particular case that I remember well, the new wife was a business owner, an entrepreneur, and she was very wealthy, where the old wife was, I believe, either unemployed or earning something close to minimum wage, but she wasn't very well off. So in the new household, they became very successful, very comfort, well-to-do, where in the old marriage, things just kept getting worse and worse with changing economies. So the ex-wife took the husband to court and demanded a larger payment of alimony. And in the new settlement, what they did to equalize the ex-wife was they took into account the new wife's money, considered it as household income, took the overall income with the new wife's money and gave it to the old wife. So what really started this movement wasn't so much the men who were paying alimony, it was the new wife, the women who were fighting against the old wife, taking away, their hard-earned income, especially since this had nothing to do with them. The old marriage had nothing to do with them. So MGTOW became a group of men who said, you know what, we know that the system is bad and it's against us, and we don't want to have to deal with it. So we are going our own way. These men perpetrated the thoughts and the philosophies of the bachelor life, but failed to execute and failed to take the necessary actions that were needed, right? So what they did was, because of this great online movement that then started, so this sort of coincided with the rise of the internet, right? So men finally now had a platform where they could express themselves, right? So the word expression means to share your ideas, your beliefs, your knowledge, and your point of view with other people, right? And what we were describing was, it wasn't just the divorced men that were having these outrageous experiences in relationships and in marriage. It was every man. Every man was experiencing lies, theft, infidelity, betrayal from the counterpart. They described mood swings, volatility, inconsistency, and violence at the end of it, domestic issues. These women, these counterparts were selfish, self-centered, rude, belligerent, and ultimately men decided that since we were all having the same experience, that it wasn't worth it, right? And they were going their own way, which of course we know they didn't go anyway, right? So one of the things that was achieved through the MGTOW movement is that they exposed the counterpart, and exposed how many counterparts were actually out there, right? And this exposure gave a boost to internet views, right? Suddenly there were just YouTube channels everywhere, dating coaches everywhere. They were selling courses. They had events, live events. Men were coming together to discuss all these things. It was huge. It was a huge event of self-congratulations, right? It was hubris, right? The biggest issue online, the biggest issue in the world was dating and relationships, right? These men became rich, they became successful, and they became famous overnight, right? The, the issue is that they didn't actually change, right? They exposed a lot, they discussed a lot, but there was no transition, right? The transition that MGTOW offered, or the solutions that they offered, was to try and change the counterpart. So they exposed the counterpart's bad behaviors, discussed why they were bad, and then said that it was up to the counterpart to change themselves, which is never going to happen. Remember, these are people who don't even respect their own fathers, right? The counterpart mocks religion. These are people who will go from the strip club, from the nightclub, into the church with no transition, right? And no shame. And they will feel like they belong there. This is right for them, right? And they'll be there worshiping God, praying and singing and doing all of that all at the same time, right? And so you must understand that the counterpart has no limit, right? They have no limit. They can easily mock religion, right? And then claim that same religion that they mock, right? And claim to be righteous because of that religion that they mock. They mock it in their words, they mock it in their actions, they mock it with their lifestyle, right? It is blatant to see that these people have no bottom. So MGTOW decided that their big outcome, their big solution was to try and change the counterpart. And instead, what happened was all the things that MGTOW described as wrong, those things just increased. So the counterpart became so much worse, and instead they switched those demands onto the men, the knee benders. So when the knee benders, which we now know many MGTOW men are, and I'll prove that also, when the MGTOW men said they wanted a faithful woman, women became more unfaithful, right? Dating apps, online apps, all these things. Like if you're not selling a product on the internet, you're selling yourself, right? If you're not selling something on the internet, you are selling yourself. So all that type of activity just increased, you know. Planes are flying people out more than ever, right? The sale of illicit substances is higher than ever. Nightclubs, even though they've lost popularity, are making more money than ever because the people that go there are willing to spend that money, right? And this was bad advice, right? This was bad advice. It was like exposing the counterpart and then asking the counterpart to change themselves without offering any consequences or any reward, right? So it was a matter of, well, if you don't change your behavior, I won't date you. But in truth, they did, right? A lot of men did end up going back, right? And this was the logic right here that MGTOW had. MGTOW's logic goes like this. So you're in a relationship and you start to experience all those ills that we mentioned of the counterpart: the lies, the theft, the betrayal, the infidelity, the volatility. So you start to experience all those things. You become conscious of your own value and that you're not receiving anything from this relationship, right? You become self-aware. So you leave the counterpart. You go your own way. You become a man going his own way. You join the MGTOW movement. But as you go away, right, when you are away, right, you work on improving yourself. You improve your finances. You save more money. You downgrade your lifestyle to improve your savings. You go to the gym, so you're not eating unhealthy food. You're not eating restaurant food, which is all fat. It's nothing but fat. And you're decreasing the quantities that you eat so you can improve your body, so you can get fit, you can get strong, you can get healthy. And so you're killing it in the gym. Because you start to look better, you start to feel better. Your mental health starts to rise. You're not having problems fighting betrayal. You're not paranoid that this traitor is betraying you, because that's what traitors do, right? Which improves you spiritually, right? So overall, you start to improve yourself. And then what do you do then? What do you do once you've hit your peak and you are at the best condition of your life? You're richer than ever, healthier than ever, stronger than ever, mentally more sound, more stable. Maybe a year or two has gone by, 2 years worth of work. And what do? What did MGTOW suggest that you do? They suggested that you then go back to a counterpart. You just left the counterpart. You improved yourself. And now what do? You go straight back into the problem that you came out of. This right here, this is the fault that MGTOW had. This was the contradiction. Because in truth, these men wanted to be in these relationships. They wanted to bend the knee. And what they wanted was to be loved and appreciated and respected and adored in relationship. Instead of facing the reality that once you get into a relationship, all you do is you join the romance wars. You are now part of the war for survival and resources. And she has no resources, so she now needs yours. Right? So you go out into the world, gather your resources just to come back into the romance wars, just to come back into another relationship where they start stripping you of your resources, taking you to brunch, taking you on cruises. You were in the gym for 2 years. Now you're eating croissants at brunch. You're going to get fat again, right? So all their advice led you straight back to the same problem that you left. This was the contradiction. All of that pride, all of that work that went into creating this movement just for you to surrender the movement to the counterpart. So what was the point? What was the point of MGTOW? What was missing in MGTOW was a tangible place for men to actually go, right? They needed something to facilitate a transition, to facilitate the change that they wanted to see in the world. And what they should have said was, if you are tired of this and you want real power, real leverage, the real legs that you need to stand on and walk out of this relationship if it doesn't go your way, you needed to go and get a vasectomy. You needed to freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy before you go back into this war. Because now you've just come back into a war for resources with resources. Just think about that. You left a relationship because it was draining your resources, went out into the wilderness, hunted, gathered, built, only to come back with more resources and offer those resources up. It was ridiculous to listen to these people. And many of them are still going on about it. You need to find a counterpart that doesn't do this. You need to find a counterpart that doesn't do this. You need to find a counterpart that doesn't do that doesn't go here and doesn't eat this and doesn't drink that. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And this is why MGTOW failed. The whole thing was a contradiction, right? What good is going your own way if ultimately you're just going to get a woman pregnant and she knows that? And she knows that. So what you'll see now is a lot of men that were in the MGTOW movement are all fathers or stepfathers or step boyfriends, or you're a guy dating a woman, raising another man's child, right? But you're not married to her. I don't know what the term is. Maybe that's what a situationship is, right? A big combination of messy situationships. I don't know. Someone needs to help me to define that word. But the contradiction in MGTOW was so glaring to see. And I see the same contradiction in many other movements. It always comes down to, well, if you do this, you'll earn a woman's respect. You'll never earn a woman's respect, right? These people don't even respect their fathers, right? They're throwing away their fathers' names every single day, destroying legacies just for them to stand in the world with no identity, right? Imagine that, right? But for men to think that you could get on a platform like YouTube and convince a counterpart whose interests are completely against yours, the opposite of yours, right? You want to bring resources, they want to extract resources, right? You want to save for a house, she wants to go on a cruise, You only go shopping for necessities, she goes shopping as a hobby. She goes shopping for fun. She spends money for fun, right? And if she's not spending money for fun, she thinks it's a waste of time, right? And even if you wanted to, right? Even if you were a true believer in MGTOW, right? Even if you did go your own way, even if you moved all the way out into the jungle, eventually you're going to drive back into the city. You're going to meet a counterpart. You're going to have intimate relations, and she's going to ruin your life because she's going to get pregnant. She's going to get pregnant. Listen to me, guys. When you have intimate relations with a counterpart, there is only one guaranteed outcome, and that is insemination. You will get her pregnant, and she will keep the child. And this is where MGTOW went. MGTOW went from relationship to expression to transition to change, which wasn't really change. It was just self-improvement, right? They went from self-improvement and straight back into a relationship, right? So in truth, they didn't go anywhere. But where could you go? This is Earth. This is Earth. You can't go to Mars. We're not going to Mars. You can't go to the moon. Even if you went to the moon, there's no water, there's no food, there's no air. There's nothing there to help sustain a human being. This is Earth. This is where we are. This is where our history is. This is where our future is, right? So if you think that you are going to go somewhere where you're not going to find a counterpart, you are so wrong. They are everywhere. They are everywhere. They are in your apartment building, at your job, in the shopping malls. They are more. There was a point in time where there were more of them than there were of us. For most of humanity, there have been more counterparts than there have been bachelors. And there are more counterparts today than there are bachelors. There are more knee benders than bachelors, than vasectomites, obviously. Only about maximum 2% of people are vasectomites, but those vasectomites already have children, so they're not purebred. They are not vasectomies with no wife and no kids. Vasectomites with no wife and no kids, right? They got their vasectomy after their lives are destroyed. They got the vasectomy as a containment measure to not further destroy their lives, right? So for MGTOW to think that there was somewhere to go was ridiculous, right? It was just it was just a show, right? A spectacle, right? To bring forth this new era of digital expression where we could all make our channels, be famous, gather some popularity, and make outlandish demands and claims on women, while men make the changes too, right? It's not to imply that men didn't make their changes, because you had to now improve your finances, improve your body, get your mental health right, get your spiritual life right, get your house, get your car, right? Get your fundamentals in place. And they were expecting the counterpart to be able to do the same thing. And the counterpart just refused. They just went to find another knee bender. And the knee bender, capitulated. And in fact, what you discover was most of these MGTOW knee benders, they all knew each other. They were closely associated with each other and ultimately ended up dating the same women. You'll find that many of them have children by similar women. So what you see is 3-4 guys that are all MGTOW, all paying alimony, all paying child support to the same woman. Now imagine that mess. Get a vasectomy, guys. Get a vasectomy. Don't come up with a philosophy that has no action based on it. And the action doesn't change anything. The vasectomy remains the standard in the bachelor life because it is unbeatable. You can hold your toughness, you can prove your strength, your mental fortitude, your ability to earn, to protect, to provide, which I will never do. I will protect nothing and provide nothing. Nothing. Right? Minute by minute, case by case, play by play. That is all you get from the Bachelor Supreme in terms of social relations. There is no future. There is no future here with me because I am a thoroughbred vasectomite. There is not going to be a biological connection between a counterpart and I, regardless of how many interactions we have, right? But for MGTOW, it took 2, 3 interactions and the movement was finished. They could not stand. And I've seen a lot of new philosophers and a lot of new movements start and die, start and die. And so, and all that happens is you start a movement, you get into a relationship, the movement is gone. Because now all your attention goes to that relationship and you have no leg to stand on. Because she can say, well, I need your time and we need your time. By we, she means the kids, which means you have no time. You have no time, right? And once your time is gone, so there go your resources. And that's why you would see many popular channels just stop producing either the type of content that they were used to or they stop producing at the volume that they used to. And in truth, MGTOW didn't die or didn't fail because it was a weak philosophy or because of men didn't get a vasectomy. It died because the people that were supposed to maintain it didn't maintain it. The philosophers stopped giving their philosophies. They stopped repeating it every single day. And they assumed that people had heard enough of it. And that's not true. You need to repeat the philosophy every single day, all the time. Get a vasectomy, get a vasectomy. Every video, get a vasectomy. People will come to watch your video because they know that you're going to tell them to get a vasectomy. And the ones who did get that vasectomy, they want to watch that video because they want to be certain that they made the right decision based on your advice. Once you start this journey of putting your philosophy out there, you cannot stop. You cannot allow a counterpart to simply end the progress that you are making, thereby disappointing everyone that believed in you. The fact that you allowed a counterpart to derail your movement is an insult to everyone that believed in you. And this is why MGTOW failed. Hubris, too much self-confidence, too much self-congratulations, and ultimately that self-confidence proved to be a contradiction, and a contradiction is always a lie. But a vasectomy is true. It is not just mental, it is not just spiritual, it is physical, it is biological. It truly affects not just you internally, but all your future interactions. Whereas the potential for life-destructive activities was ever present, once you have a vasectomy, you can now act with absolute confidence in all of your interactions, social, professional, or otherwise. So get a vasectomy, guys. Get a vasectomy. Stay true. Stay true. Be like a compass that points north, right? Think of a plane that is leaving one destination to another. If their compass is off by even 1 degree on a 5,000-mile journey, they could end up on a completely different country in a completely different continent, right? And the bachelor life is your true north. The vasectomy is your true north. It keeps you pointed in the right direction, which will lead you to the final destination: success, salvation. This is the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it. Have a lovely day.